Hi, and welcome to the Happiest Hour. I'm Paula Devine. I'm really excited about today's guest. I'm joined by my friend Jaime Andersen. She is the founder of the amazingly alcohol-free community. Jaime and I met inside the coaching world in Jen Hurst Lighthouse Coaching Academy. Jaime and I have been on a similar journey through coaching, learning, growing, discovering a lot about ourselves along the way. One of the things I love about Jaime is that she brings so much humor and lightness to this work and to this crazy roller coaster of entrepreneurship. She's someone who, like me, doesn't take herself too seriously, which honestly makes these conversations more real and more fun, which is exactly why I wanted to have you on today, Jaime. She's become a friend. She's an amazing mom, wife, daughter, and I'm really excited for you to hear a little bit about her story. So with that, Jaime, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. And that was a fabulous introduction. And I love that you think I'm funny because I think I'm funny too. And like, in some of my posts, I'm like, these are really funny, but I don't know if people get it. So I love
No,
that
I
about
think
you.
you're funny,
And
and I think you're fabulous. You're all the
oh, thank
things.
you.
So thanks
Oh,
again for
thank
coming
you.
on. And so tell everyone a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what do you do?
Yes. So my name is Jaime Anderson. I'm based in the Seattle, Washington area, born and raised in Washington State. And I am 44 years old. I just turned 44, and I'm going to be 4 years alcohol free on July 5th, 2022, which I'm really, really excited about. I am a mom. I have two kiddos, Edward and Charlotte, been married for several years. And I'm an alcohol free coach. And so I wasn't always an alcohol free coach. I was in corporate America for several years. And last year, I took the leap to be a full time coach, and I absolutely love it. So I help women live their best lives alcohol free. And my focus is really just on movement, mindset, and self care. And I have a community. I do group coaching, one on one coaching. And I also have a podcast with my mom, which is insane to say. But so a lot of stuff going on. But thank you so much again for having me here.
Yes, of course. So this podcast with your mom is
Yes.
fantastic. That is absolutely amazing that your mom, she got sober at what, 70 years old?
Yes, she just turned 70 years old and she is about 14 months alcohol free, which honestly is just incredible. She struggled with alcohol and pills all of her life. Like since I was a little kid, like it's always been an ongoing struggle for her. And so she's been crushing it over the last almost year and a half. And so it's just really cool. And one day we just, I don't know, decided to do a podcast. And I've always said I'm never doing a podcast, but we just did it and it's been real fun. And also just we talk about stuff that we never ever have talked about before in real life. And it's pretty just unfiltered and just us talking. We don't do a lot of prep because that's just how we roll. And it's been a really beautiful thing. And honestly, it just helps her stay accountable, me stay
Yeah.
accountable, and just kind of connect. And I do a lot of just like live coaching with her and stuff. And it's been really fun.
That is awesome. And that just goes
Yeah.
to show you that it is never too late to get sober.
No, absolutely not. Like it is so cool to see. And she says that all the time. And she was always somebody that didn't have a lot of close friends, just like a couple close friends, but never somebody that ever shared what was going on with her. It was just, for her and a family, it was in her family and my family too, growing up, we just didn't talk about things, how we were feeling, like anything going on. And so once she started working with me and joining my own community, she just started actually like sharing things that she never shared before. And she's coming from this place now that she never knew of connection and just women supporting women and not being judged for all the shit she's been doing over the years. And it's really been really just it's turned her into a place of just starting to love herself and to be, just like healing from all the things she's gone through. And it's been just a really cool thing to see. And at 70, she's freaking doing it. I'm really proud of her.
That's incredible. And you think about 70, like if I had kept going with my drinking
Yeah.
and stopped at 70, I would have had so much guilt and shame to work through. How does she work through all that?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just sharing and starting to really be honest with herself and then with her family. She, for years, she just was never honest, a lot of lying and things like that because she was so ashamed of herself and just constantly she's really hard on herself still and she's getting better on it. And so I'd say just kind of working, like just being like sharing all the shit that's going on in her basement, not hiding anymore. And then really leaning into the community aspect. That's been huge for her. And she also has a morning routine now where she takes care of herself. She's never taken care of herself. And so she reads and she does journaling now, and just these simple habits that have really helped transform her just mindset and how she approaches life. She still struggles, but she has tools now that help her. And if she's in Mexico right now, she's actually, it's been several weeks there. And so she's struggling a little bit right now. And so instead of just, kind of keeping it all in, she's checking in and talking about it and kind of, doing the work to figure out what's going on. Like, why is she thinking about drinking versus just saying F it and doing it? And so it's been really great for her. And so I'm just rooting for her.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
excited
Well,
to see
shout
where
out
she
to
takes it.
Jules. She's
Yeah,
killing it. Good for
she's a new
her.
woman, and honestly, we're closer than we've ever been. I had a lot of resentment, a lot of anger towards her for several years. It was really hard, and so I feel like the last year has just completely just brought us closer together than ever, and it's been really, really cool and fun. It's like so much more fun, It's
Wow,
good.
that's amazing. What a transformation.
Yeah.
Okay, but I want to talk about you.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so I want to go back just a little bit, and if you could tell me how those last few years of what did the last few years of your drinking look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so, I started drinking, I think I had my first beer in seventh grade with two of my girlfriends. So in middle school. And so I've had a relationship with alcohol since I was seventh grade all the way until I was 40. So I spent a lot of years drinking and a lot of start and stops. And I would say I really loved it. I honestly thought it was fun. I never really thought it was a problem for several years until I started to near probably 38, 39, and I started to just question it a little more and just feeling a little bit more guilty about it that I was doing. Like it just started to feel like something was off. And for me, I would say it was mostly during the pandemic where it got really bad for me. And so at that point, I was, let's see, what year is the pandemic? 2020, right? So that was about 6 years ago. And my drinking just like really increased. And at that point, I was drinking a lot. And at one point during it, and we were like joking about it, like at work, I worked at Amazon and I was drinking like 10 beers a day. And it was like no big deal. Like we wouldn't go out in public or like go to the stores, but we'd go down to like walk down with our masks on to like the little gas station to get beer. And so it was just something that like, and it just really, really increased. And then at one point I just called my brother and I was like, hey, I'm drinking like 12 beers a day. Luke is too. Like I'm really worried about it. And so at that point I took a break and then I came back to it. And then over the next couple of years after that, I just started to question a little bit more. But I would say it was my 40th birthday. And so I went to Palm Springs with my girlfriends from the dorm in college. So I went to Washington State University, go Cougs. I always have to say that. And even before the trip, I was talking to my husband, Luke, about like, they're not going to drink as much as me. I'm like, it's not going to be as much fun. Like, what am I going to do? They're not going to like party as hard. And here's the thing too. I was a big binge drinker, but I never got like too blacked out or anything like that. Like I could have like 12 beers and like be okay. Like I never like made a scene or like anything crazy. But I was really worried about it. And so, but we laughed it off. Like we didn't even question that,
What
right?
about it made you so worried?
I just was like, I think I was also at a place when I was drinking, I was really insecure. I just didn't like myself that much. I had a lot of anxiety, and I think I was just worried about being with my friends and around them. And I was just like really nervous. I was also just nervous to leave my kiddos. I just was like in this really weird place. I don't know, and I just felt like negative about a lot of people and just like I just was like just in a weird funk a lot, and I just kind of felt like that the world was like against me, and versus now I feel like the world's like happening for me, right? And so I feel like I was just in this like weird spot where I just was like like a lot of ups and downs and stuff. And so I was just like, they're not going to drink as much. And one of my girlfriends, she's been alcohol free for longer than me, and she was like sober during that entire trip, so there was like that. And then one of my other girlfriends, I just kind of lost touch with her. I was just like in a weird mental space. So I just like
Mhm.
worried about it because I wanted to like go to Palm Springs and like get crazy, you know? And they were just never huge drinkers. I mean, we
Yeah.
drink back in college, but a little more low key, you know, with kids and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, but during the trip, I was just like, I had like a 30 pack of Coors Light, you know, in the fridge, and I was like drinking them by myself in the room while we were getting ready. I was like hiding cans in the garbage because I just knew they were gonna like keep an eye on it. That's just how my friends are. And I feel like they
Yeah.
just make little comments, like not trying to do anything, but I was just like weird about it. Um, and it was fine. You know, I ended up going back or coming back home and I had a doctor's appointment like 2 days later and I got really bad results. Said that my cholesterol was high. I was like 60, 70 pounds overweight, so more than I am now, about 60 pounds heavier at the time. And then she said, you need to go on like a Mediterranean diet. And I was like, and so, and I was already starting to like question it
You
like
should
here and
stop
there.
drinking, or you should change your diet.
Yeah, it's like never nothing about the drinking. And I was also like, well, I just came back from like Palm Springs, so it's probably just like my results were really bad, so it's just like really unhealthy, you know? Like, but I still was like, I knew deep down I needed to quit. And I did like before that start to kind of explore it, but it was still like not a thing, you know? Because back
Right.
like then it wasn't as big of like there's a huge sober movement now, right? But it wasn't as much like that.
Hmm.
And so continued to drink a little bit. And so that was in March. And then there was this turning point, and I don't think I've ever hit a rock bottom by any means, but we were always going to the brewery down the street. It's called Stoop Brewery, and it would be like our thing. We go probably a couple times a week with the kids, and you know, a lot of parents do. And we were going on just a Thursday because that's typically what we would do too. Like Luke and I were never daily drinkers by any means, but like Thursday comes, we're like, okay, let's have some beers, and then Friday, Saturday, and then like repeat that cycle. And we were going to the brewery like normal, and we went to pick up my daughter, who's like 5 minutes from the brewery, and she had a rash on her body. And at that time, I think she was a little over 1, and her daycare provider told us, and we're like, okay, we'll try to take her to urgent care. And I was like, I want to go to the brewery, but whatever, we'll do it. So we try to go to urgent care. We can't get her in. So instead, we go to the pharmacy, get her some allergy medicine, give it to her in the parking lot, and we go to the brewery still. And the whole time I was just like, what am I doing? Like, this isn't right. Like, I want to go have some beers, but like, I'm giving my daughter who's never had allergy medicine before, like giving it to her and just going to the brewery instead of go taking her home. And she ended up
Right.
being totally fine. But that was when those like flags started to come up to me, like something is not right. Like I'm looking forward to it most mornings when I'm waking up. Like I want to have a drink. I was also in a very like a lot of stress and anxiety at Amazon. It's super demanding there, and I was just like that's all I was starting to look forward to, and my priorities started to just shift. And then in
Hmm.
my mind, I was like, if I have me and Luke are drinking, because we were huge drinking buddies, like together, like who's gonna pick up the kids if something happens in the middle of the night? I was like, probably my neighbor across the street who I know, but like that would be really uncomfortable if I called her to be like, can you help me? And so that's kind of when it happened. And I just started to question it. And so July, a couple months after that, I woke up on July 5th. We have a beach house on Whidbey Island that we got during the pandemic, which that's also is a challenge because we got this beach house and we're like, oh, it's weekend, like vacation every weekend. And it was just days of drinking. So on July 5th, 2022, I woke up after just days of drinking and I was hungover on the couch and I was like, I need to take 30 days off. I just need something. And Luke's like, okay, I'll do it with you. And at that time, I like started to see the sober Instagram and stuff. And so I
Hmm.
just started and I found a couple podcasts I love. Casey McGuire Davidson, Hello Someday podcast, who I just like, I consume that. Like, she has a topic for everything. I
Hmm.
found Suzanne Nowhere Where from Sober Mom Life, listen to her podcast, and I would just scroll Suzanne's page and I just started on my 30-day journey, didn't really know what my plan was, and I just kept going for me. So that's kind of how it happened.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's what you did.
Yeah.
So you just started diving into all the tools that are available right at our
Yeah,
fingertips almost.
yeah. I'm also the type of person that if I have my mindset on something, like I'm all in. Also a runner, so that's kind of how I am too. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do a half marathon. Like I sign up for stuff. I love challenges and signing up for stuff. And so for me, it was just a good challenge. I knew I needed that break. And then I think for me, I just started to hear when I found the sober Instagram,
Hmm.
I was that's when I felt like I'm not alone in this. I didn't realize that there was other women that felt the same way I did. Like I was relying on alcohol, but I was kind of questioning it, and it became to be like consumed with me. And then when I started to have those moments with my kids, like I'm like, oh, and that's kind of where it resonated with me. And then I started to hear their perspectives and what they did and how
Hmm.
life is so much more beautiful on the other side. And so I just kind of stuck with it. And then I just kept going. I do not know why. I don't know how, but I did. And it is the best decision I've ever made. I mean, I was constantly like every Monday, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to take a break again. I'm going to take a break again. And it just never stuck. I had a few like moments, but it's been the best decision I've ever made. And I feel really lucky. I feel like once it sticks, it sticks, hopefully for most of us. And that's how
Hopefully,
it was for
yeah.
me. And
You're
yeah,
one of the
yeah.
lucky ones. But the fears that you must have had leading up to that, what were some of the biggest things that you were afraid of when you stopped or thought about stopping?
Yeah, I mean, how am I going to have fun? How am I going to go to the beach house? What am I going to do without going to breweries? Like, what am I going to do instead? I don't really feel like we had a lot of things outside of drinking for the most part. Like, we go to our beach house and Saturday morning we would get up and have to do something with the kids, and then we would just be like in the parking lot at noon waiting for them to open, food truck, beers, and then come back and drink. So I think for me, it was just how am I going to have fun? Also, people are boring, boring. I had this like thought about it too, just like what's wrong with them? Like why would they not want to drink? And also I think for me just it was what I did to de-stress. I would say I have a lot of anxious feelings in general and stress. It's just who I am by nature, and it was just how I kind of took the edge off and decompressed for the day, and I didn't know any other way to do that. So I would say those were probably the biggest ones. And then Luke, my husband, like we were drinking buddies. We met in a bar. We went to the same college, and we drank to connect. That's like what we
Yeah.
did. Like, and we had fun. And I'm not, and I think that's one of the things too. Like, I had fun drinking. We have a lot of great memories until it just stopped being fun. It's like
Right.
there's a point where you're like, okay, I don't know if this is as much
Yeah.
fun as it used to be. Especially as you're getting older. It's like those 3-day hangovers, they suck. Like,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
worth it anymore. It's
And I can
not.
relate so much to your story because it's really, we drank for fun. I always had a good time drinking. And then it became so confusing too because like nothing was bad was happening.
Yeah.
And I didn't, well, you had a friend who was sober, but I didn't even have a friend who was sober. I knew nobody
Yeah.
who was sober. So it really never even crossed my mind like stopping. What do you mean stop? That just wouldn't even work with my lifestyle until,
Yes.
like you just said, it just doesn't.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
Well, because I have two friends that quit. And so, really good friends from college. We ended up working at the same startup company together. And these other two friends ended up quitting together. And I didn't because I went on maternity leave or something. And then at that point, I disconnected from them when I was still drinking, like
mm,
slowly. And one of them I was very close with. And I didn't talk to her for a couple years. And now we're close again. And and I've acknowledged that. But I completely, like,
yeah,
just disengaged because it I think, made me feel bad about it. But I was like, ugh, like, I'm like, I just don't want to be around
yeah,
him right now.
no.
Yeah, it's
And
crazy.
subconsciously, we do start to separate ourselves from people because either I don't want to make a fool in front of myself, in front of anybody, so I'll just go home and have another drink or do
Yes.
the rest of the bottle. So slowly,
Yeah.
we do start disconnecting from others. It's crazy how that happens, and you're not even really planning it, so to speak. It's
Yes.
just like
Yeah.
subconsciously, you just want to start protecting it. Let's say that. Like,
Yes. 100%.
we're really just trying to protect the drinking
Yes.
at all
Yeah.
costs because it's all
Yeah.
the insanity of it all.
Again, it's the priorities. It's like when you're stuck in that just like in that drinking cycle, it's like your priorities are completely off. Like they're not aligned. And so my focus was just drinking. And, and I shouldn't have prioritized that over friendships that I've had for like almost 20 years. So
Well,
it's very interesting.
and we
Yeah,
don't know what we don't know. We do the best that we can with what we're, told and
exactly.
we learn in society. But I also
Yeah.
want to ask you something else.
Yeah.
You and I had so much fun at Sober Life Rocks in
Yeah.
Orlando. So great. We
Yeah.
actually got to meet in person.
I know. You're so cool. It's like,
Oh,
I'm like, Paula, teach me how to do really fun videos, please, because mine are terrible.
okay, pay attention. Think outside the box. Like I'm some expert. I had 10 followers.
I know. So
But one of the things you mentioned when we were together, and it really sort of hit home for me, is because I do have two nephews who have autism, and I have some really close friends that have kids with autism, and
yeah.
there's so much love there, but it's also can be a really stressful time for parents. And you had mentioned that that was sort of going on also during the
Yeah,
pandemic with your
it
son. Can
was.
you talk a little bit about that? Because I know there must be so many other parents out there with kids with
Yeah.
autism that are under a lot of stress and maybe reaching for drinks to help.
Yeah, no, and it's a good question, and I honestly haven't really talked about it too much. I definitely keep my kids off my Instagram and things like that these days. At first I did, but I'm just trying to but I don't talk about it too much. But it's interesting because in 2020, and I think it was February, March, um, right before the pandemic, we were essentially told by my son Edward's preschool, I think he was 2 at the time, that hey, he's not paying attention. Maybe you should get him tested. And we had no idea. We were like, what? Because it was our first child. So we had no idea the baseline or anything like that. And then during March of that year, a couple months later, we had somebody that luckily came to the house right during the pandemic and kind of was able to assess him a little bit. And then we ended up getting a referral to University of Washington Autism Center, and they did a virtual. So we got really lucky. The wait list to get on diagnosis in Seattle is huge. We have stiillchildren, UW, and it's really hard to get in. But we got in this sweet spot during the pandemic that we were willing to do it virtual, and so we got a virtual assessment during the pandemic in March, and he was diagnosed with it, and it was just and it was a really hard time, obviously, for, I mean, all Americans, right? And so at that point, our drinking really peaked, and it was right before that, and then we found out this diagnosis, so we drank a lot more, and it was a really challenging time for us too because Edward was 2, and I was working at Amazon, and we were told hey, this is hard, you're going home, but we'll reduce your workload. That wasn't the case for me. I got put on this COVID project, and I was working nonstop, and it was really intense. Luke was 2, and Edward was just, he needed that attention. There's days we had him sitting on the couch for 8 hours straight. He was having trouble communicating, just a lot of things that were really hard. And we just didn't know what to do with this diagnosis. And specifically during the pandemic, when it was just really hard to, you can't have any in-person services or anything like that. And we just didn't know. So we just really turned into drinking. I was drinking 10 to 12 beers a night, right? And it was just what we were doing. We would be, pretty drunk, getting him to bed at night, and just a lot of stress of the world. And I was in a really hard place. And that's when it was his birthday. He turned 3rd on April 24th. So his birthday's coming up. And we were doing a Zoom birthday party, and I was super obnoxious. I was just really loud. It was my mom on there, my aunt. And the next day I just called my brother, like I said earlier. And I was just I'm drinking too much. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so I ended up just taking a break for 46 days. And right before that, I actually had a miscarriage right on my birthday. And so it was right around this diagnosis, same time frame, the drinking, the pandemic, and I'm pretty sure I had the miscarriage because I was drinking so much and my stress was really high. And then so I took a break April 24th for 46 days. And I remember that because it was the longest I've ever gone.
Yeah.
And then I got pregnant with my daughter, Charlotte, which is a godsend for me. So then at that point, I was kind of be more clear-headed. My stress levels, things changed because I got pregnant with Charlotte, and I just had that miscarriage. And so with Edward, it was really good for us to be able to have that, right? And then Luke's drinking obviously decreased too, because it's we were drinking together. So that's kind of how it happened. And I would say for me, after I had Charlotte, I went back to drinking again. And so, yeah, and I would say with Edward and having a baby, I was it was really hard for me. I'm very anxious all the time about them. Edward, it was challenging a little bit at first, just as far as the communication issues and not really knowing how to deal with it. Just no patience. I just felt I was just constantly always just so stressed out, raised my voice a lot, and just not the same. And since I've quit drinking, parenting for me has gotten so much easier, which I would say, and specifically with a kiddo that's on the spectrum, he's amazing. He's just the sweetest boy. There's some things we have to kind of work through. And so since I quit drinking, we got him into like behavior therapy. We put him in these camps. He's joined these amazing sports program for kids, that like for that need these adaptive sports. And I have to wonder if I would have been able to prioritize his needs as much if I was still drinking and in this place of just everything's happening to me, poor us, like what's going on, instead of this like, oh, he's such a special kid, we're gonna help him now, we're gonna like work
Right.
through it, and we're more patient, because like things are really hard at first. The potty training with kids, and specifically with kids like on the spectrum, it can be more challenging, and the bedtimes and a lot of the things, like it's a different level. And I feel like since I quit drinking, I'm like, my patience level is, I mean, so much different. Like I'm able to go with the flow. I'm able to just kind of work with him and work with my daughter too, in just a place of like understanding, instead of just being like, be like, like be quiet, go in your room, or like getting frustrated. I'm a completely different person. I do have my moments, obviously, with two little kids, and it's parenting, but I would just feel like, yeah, I feel like it's just leaps and bounds, and I'm so grateful for. I mean, they're my number one priority, right? Like I'm just a better parent because I'm clear headed. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so looking back, what do you think, or what would you actually maybe even tell another parent who's in those early stages after a diagnosis that may be wanting to drink because it's such an easy, quick relief?
Yeah.
That and what maybe you think you needed most at that time instead of drinking.
Yeah, I would say that. So for me, somebody like, that can get worried, can get anxious, like adding alcohol to the mix is adding fuel to the fire. It also numbs you, so you're not able to really like come to terms with the reality of what you're facing, and you kind of just like push off all these things. For me, it was really hard, and I think I took like a lot of anger and frustration out on like maybe my husband, or even like Edward. I mean, not in a negative way, but just like just like frustrated, like I'm having to deal with this, like during this really hard time, and I just didn't know what to do. And I feel like what really would have helped me is to one have, tools to help me instead of alcohol, right? So, I mean, I worked out and stuff, but it wasn't like the level it is today. So I'd probably, you know, making sure I'm moving my body, I'm doing my journaling, I'm reaching out to other people that get it instead of keeping it inside. Like, I didn't know anything about community or connection really until I quit drinking and kind of joined my own group, right? So just having other people that get it and that can help support you. I mean, even like other, women that maybe don't have kids on the spectrum, at least they're there to like to just.
Well, thank you for sharing that deeply personal piece of your journey. I appreciate you sharing that. And I'm sure that there's
Yeah.
so many women out there that can resonate with what you're saying. Thank you. And I just adore you. You're always so authentic. You keep everything so light. I'm so grateful that our paths crossed. And now you're coaching and you're helping so many women. It's incredible. Your community sounds like such a cool group. And now
You're the
you're
best.
hosting, you have a retreat coming up.
Yes, I'm actually doing one in Whidbey Island, so it's in the Seattle area in May, which I'm really excited about. So it's 10 women, and it's just going to be beautiful. Just beach, sound bath, we're going to have an 80s night. It's going to be amazing. And then I'm also doing one in Palm Springs in September, and so it's going to be really, really great. Can't wait.
Oh, that's fun. So where can people find you?
Yes. So my website is amazinglyalcoholfree.com. I'm also on Instagram, now TikTok because of Paula. Thank you, Paula. You're teaching me.
TikTok.
And I'm also on YouTube as well and LinkedIn. But yeah, amazinglyalcoholfree.com has all my information.
Great. Well, thank you. And thank you so much for coming on today. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much. It's been great. Have a great day.